Audio Jungle.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Breakfast with Mohammad, Kholil, Nawawi, and Samsuri Yadi.
And let's start with our headlines today. A surprise in case of the Delta variant means the government is considering a delay up to 4 weeks before lifting England's lockdown restriction.
Honors for the heroes of the coronavirus vaccine rollout their life-saving work is recognized by the Queen.
Figures from the world of entertainment are also honored, including the singer Lulu and Great British Bake Off of Judge Plury.
The royal family, out in force as world leaders, the G7 summit in Cornwall, are urged to cooperate over COVID and eliminate.
Next, the government is considering delaying the lifting of England's remaining coronavirus restriction by up to 4 weeks.
The roadmap out of lockdown was to take place on the 21st of June. There are concerns about the spread out of the Delta variant first identified in India and the rise in cases, as our political correspondent Jessica Parker.
Limits on social contact, easing restrictions for large events, the proper reopening of nightclubs. All part of the plan for England's final step out of lockdown. But recently, the mood music has been more downbeat.
I think everybody in the country will want to go back to their normal lives as they were before, but we do have a problem. We have a very new virus, and we will have to learn to live with it over a period of time. And the most critical thing, I think, here is to make sure that we have good vaccination programs, we're protecting those most at risk, and we still have a few more in the population to vaccinate as we go forward. So I think we'll just have to wait and see what the data shows on Monday.
There were 8,125 new cases recorded in the past 24 hours. That's up almost 60% in the past week. On average, over 6,500 new cases have been recorded per day in the last week. And hospitalisations are beginning to rise slowly, with more than 1,000 people in hospital. For Boris Johnson in Cornwall for the G7 summit, it means a big decision when he gets back to Downing Street. He said he'll be driven by the data. Labour claims the country's paying the price for his reckless border policy. Number 10 insists no final decisions have been made and that the data's still being examined. Ultimately, he will have to decide. Jessica Parker, BBC News.
Key people behind the COVID vaccine rollout are being celebrated in the Queen's birthday honors list, with nearly a quarter of recipients being recognized for their response during the pandemic.
The list includes the scientists who developed the Oxford AstraZeneca jab, as well as volunteers who help those in their communities. Anna Collinson has more.
The virus was at large, about half of the world's population facing lockdown. Globally, tens of thousands of people had already died from coronavirus, and scientists in Oxford were working around the clock to create a life-saving vaccine, unsure if it would ever become a reality. But in January, one of the members of the Oxford AstraZeneca team became one of the first to receive the jab. He's received a knighthood.
I'm obviously delighted to receive an honour, but I am just one cog in the most enormous machine that is involved in making a vaccine, testing it, developing it.
This time last year, the UK's vaccines task force was sifting through hundreds of possible jabs, urgently trying to identify and secure supplies of the most promising ones. Those tough decisions paid off, with 4 vaccines now approved by the UK regulator. The task force leader has been made a dame.
Seeing then the incredibly slick rollout of the vaccine across all parts of the UK has been just fantastic. And what's been really important is to see quite how effective those vaccines have been in the real world, actually preventing deaths.
No vaccine is risk-free, but to ensure they're safe and effective, they must undergo clinical trials. Divya Chadamanek played a key role in speeding up this process.
If that takes 3 months, what do we need to do to get it down to 2 months? What do we need to do? That takes normally 1 week. How can we do it in 1 day? Pressure testing the system, pushing people along. There was a lot of pushing.
Divya is one of many who's played their
The chef
part in
and
the
great
ongoing
British
fight
bake of
against
Judge
COVID.
Kholil has
With
been met
cases
with
once again on the rise,
She says she's
it's
not
hoped
sure
this
she
time the
deserves the pat
vaccination
on the back
programme,
for
which
doing
has
something
received
she
royal
loved all her
recognition,
life.
will shield
But
us
that
in a
is a
way
huge
that wasn't
honour.
possible before. Anna Collinson, BBC News.
Now, celebrities from the world of entertainment and sport are also on the list. Time 6 minutes past 6 talks at the G7 summit will continue today, and it's expected a plan will be agreed to ensure the distraction caused by pandemic like COVID-19 is never repeated.
This comes after the Queen and Prince Charles joined leaders in Cornwall yesterday. Following the first day of talks, our deputy political editor Vicky Young has more.
Political power on show at this summit here in Cornwall. The royal family, often regarded as Britain's soft power, has been out in force too. Last night, 3 generations of the royal family held an open-air reception at the Eden Project. The Queen joking with leaders as they all posed smiling for a photo.
Are you supposed to be looking as if you're enjoying it?
Yes, definitely. We have been enjoying ourselves in spite of the period.
Prince Charles and Prince William then led a meeting for leaders and chief executives from some of the world's largest companies to discuss how the private sector can work with governments to tackle the climate emergency.
The fight against this terrible pandemic provides, if ever one was needed, a crystal clear example of the scale and sheer speed at which the global community can tackle crises when we combine political will with business ingenuity and public mobilization. Ladies and gentlemen, we are doing it for the pandemic. So, if you don't mind me saying so, we must also do it for the planet.
After 2 days of warm words, photo opportunities on the beach and receptions with the royals, this could be a more challenging day for Boris Johnson. On the agenda are talks with France's Emmanuel Macron, Germany's Angela Merkel and the leaders of the European Union. The practical realities of Brexit, especially the impact on trade in Northern Ireland, are certain to come up. Vicky Young, BBC News, Falmouth.
Now, as well as unveiling honours, the Queen is going to celebrate her 95th birthday with the dropping the colour letter today.
For second year running, the military parade will be pared back, of course, because of COVID restriction, with a smaller event being held in the grounds of Windsor Castle. Let's go to our report of Ben Bolas, who's at the Commonwealth Barracks this morning.
Well, a gorgeous morning it is indeed, and they've been up since early here getting ready for what is a really big day. These are some of the horses who will be taking part in the parade, and it is a ceremony full of the pomp and the grandeur, but as you say, in a scaled down version, as it was last year. A mini trooping the colour to mark the Queen's birthday. It'll take place within the grounds of Windsor Castle instead of central London. There'll be none of the big crowds that we normally see, and everything will be done with social distancing to keep everybody involved COVID safe. Some elements will, of course, be the same. The Queen will attend in person. She'll take the salute. There will be the trooping of the regimental colours. This year, those of the Scots Guards. And the Queen will inspect soldiers of the Household Division. And the whole thing will be rounded off with a 41-gun royal salute. It will be a particularly poignant event this year, the first trooping of the colour for the Queen since the death of Prince Philip. And people are being urged not to turn up here in Windsor, not to line the streets, but instead to stay safely at home and watch it on television. The whole thing being broadcast live on BBC One.
Wow, that's great. Thank you, Ben Bolas. And that's all our news today. Thank you and see you.